I'm Chris, and today we're going to be looking at one of my favorite songs to teach for chord switching and strumming, Audioslave's Doesn't Remind Me, off of the Out of Exile record. This is a great one if these things are new for you, because it starts really simply with just 2 chords, and as we go through the later sections of the song, we add a few more here and there, so you get to ramp up your difficulty all in one song. Now, we're going to start just by talking about the strumming and concepts of strumming patterns, if this is new for you. First thing, the golden rule of strumming is that we want to keep our strumming arm moving constantly, no matter what we're doing with our strumming pattern. So, again, if this is new for you, work on just establishing that, and above all else, trying to stay relaxed while you do it. We shouldn't really have to think about our strumming because we're going to be missing strums, switching chords, and doing all sorts of extra stuff. So first, just, I recommend muting your strings so that there's not a lot of ringiness going on. You can really hear what the pick is doing. And just do down, up. Nice and steady like that, over and over again. You can see my wrist is relaxed, and I'm not going too fast. I'm just worrying about getting that nice and steady and even. It should kind of feel like second nature. You can do this while you're watching TV, or recording a YouTube video, or whatever you want to do. So we get that settled. Next, let's look at the strumming pattern specifically that we're going to be using for this verse. I still haven't played a chord yet. To make new strumming patterns, all you're going to be doing is choosing when to miss the strings on strums. And I said miss, not get rid of, because the strum still happens. You're just not going to hit the strings with the pick or your fingers when that happens. In this case, we're going to be missing on one beat, and that's the downbeat on 3. So if I count it, it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the miss right there. 1 and 2 and miss and 4 and. Missing on a down strum tends to feel a lot weirder than missing on an up strum at first, because no matter what we've done, you start with down strums. You're technically doing misses on up strums from the first time you start playing guitar, because the hand has to come back up in between the down strums. So go real slow. Even if you have to pause your rhythm and slow down to check out what's going on, that's absolutely better. It's normal to feel a little bit of resistance kind of mentally when you're missing that down strum. You want to work towards smoothing that out and try to make that miss feel nice and even and steady like any other strum. So that's our pattern. In the verse and the intro of the song, we are going to be going back and forth between 2 chords, E major and A major. Here's E. And here's A. Alright, so the song starts on the E major chord, and for the first measure, the first run through of the strumming pattern, we just stay on that E chord. Sounds like this. And there's that miss strum in there. 1 and 2 and miss and. Now I'm going to add one extra thing before we move on to measure 2. 1. Alright, so this is a thing I call the lift switch, and whether people are conscious of it or not, 90% of the time when people are switching between guitar chords, they're doing this. It kind of seems counterintuitive at first, but we actually don't want to be switching between our chords in between beats. There's not enough time, especially depending on the tempo, so what we want to do is keep as many things on the beat as we can, and that includes chord switching. So, you can go and listen to the actual recorded version of the song and listen for that, and you'll hear it as he goes between the E and the A chords. It's really clear, which is another reason why I love this song as an intro to chord switching, because you can really hear him do it. So you're going to go 1 and 2, miss, and 4, lift. And for now, just let those ring out. Who cares? You want to get used to doing that because it might feel incorrect or wrong. As with doing anything new, it really helps to exaggerate what you're doing at first to kind of force yourself to make it happen, and then you'll be able to kind of pare it down later. So that's what we're going to do for our first measure. We're going to do measure 2 by itself, then put everything together. Measure 2 starts on the A chord because we just had to do that lift switch. Okay, here's what it sounds like. All right, it might not sound like it, but all of a sudden there's tons of stuff happening in this measure, so we're going to go kind of slow. You're actually only going to be playing that A chord for 2 strums, just 1 and. Because on the down strum on B2, we have to do another lift switch. Because we can do it on down strums and up strums too. In this case, it's because we have to go back to our E chord on the and of 2 on the up strum. First hurdle is getting used to doing that, because we're flipping the script from how we had switched chords before. So we have 1 and 2 and. Sounds really cool to hit a chord on an upbeat, and that's how you get cool different syncopated rhythms. Might not go super well at first. Again, things feel very natural switching on the downbeats. When we move to doing new things on upbeats, it kind of can turn your whole world upside down. So take it strum by strum, go crazy slow at first. I say it all the time, but it's way better just to do it slowly at first than it is to stumble through it and then have to relearn it later. So once we get all settled with our chord switching right there, the strumming pattern strikes, and we have to do our miss on downbeat of 3, just like we did in measure 1. So from the top of measure 2, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. See how I kind of like punched my leg right there? That helps too, not only for having like a physical thing to be aiming for when you're doing that miss strum, but also you might be able to hear it a little bit. It helps to have some kind of audio cue that you're doing something right. Anyway, we have to do that miss on downbeat of 3, and then we strum out the rest of the measure. Here's measure 2 again. 1 and 2 and 4. And I'm not doing a lift switch on the last strum there because it starts all over again back on E, so don't lift your fingers up, you're just going to stay on the same chord. Here's the whole verse together. With counting, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So now moving on to the chorus of the song, we only have to add one extra chord, and that is D major. So half of this repeated progression or phrase is new. We'll get to that in a second. The new stuff is that our strumming pattern and chord switching changes for the first bar. Our new strumming pattern here is down, down, up, down, down, up. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. It's different, but it might be easier to get because we're only missing on up strums, so it's very much on the beat. We're doing half of that on E, and then we have half of it on D. So we go down, down, lift, and then you go to D, down, lift. We might as well be doing that lift right now because we know we're going to have to go to a new chord next. Here it is without me slowing down. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. It's really symmetrical. So like I was saying a moment ago, only half of this thing is new because measure 2 of our chorus is the same as measure 2 of our verse. We're on A and we go down, up, down, up, down, up. That's it. So if I put these things together, we have down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. With counting, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So this phrase in the chorus repeats 3 times. Unfortunately, the 4th time changes a little bit. I call it like the tag or the hook of the chorus. It starts the same, but you'll see there's some extra stuff going on. So we go down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I'm adding a strum on the D chord, and I'm switching to the A chord on an up strum. I go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. I hit that A chord on the and I let it ring for another measure, and that brings us into the verse all over again. So here is that last phrase of the chorus. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, verse. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 2, 3. There's that. So after we wash, rinse, repeat the verse and chorus 2 times, of course it's time for our bridge, which changes everything. We do a whole new set of chords here, and the strumming pattern changes. So let's start with the strumming pattern. It's very similar. We go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. We're now missing the and of 1, just the first up strum. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and. Still missing that down strum on 3. So that's it. Again, start with just the strumming pattern. That feels a little clunky at first. Muted strings or one static chord the whole time. You don't want to get into chord switching until you feel really comfortable with just the strumming by itself. So let's get into our chords. All right, so we do a bunch that we haven't done at all yet in the song. First up is D minor. Then we go to a C major. Then A major, like we did earlier. And then A minor, a G chord, and then back where we started on E. Quick note about the A major and A minor thing. I know everyone kind of has their own way of playing the A major chord. My favorite way is to use fingers 2, 3, and 4 for that, all crammed into fret 2. Number one, because it's a little bit easier to squeeze the pinky in than it is the first finger. But also, if I have to go from A major to A minor, my fingers are already in place, 2 out of 3 of them, to go from major to minor. All I got to do is get rid of the pinky and then put the first finger down. So it gets you more notes that you're able to hold out and ends up just sounding better for it. So into the actual part. Like I said, we start on the D minor chord, and we're going to do that for 2 measures. We go 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4. There's my lift, and I go to a C chord, and I do the same thing. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, and 4. Another lift. Then from here on out, each chord just gets 1 measure. We go A minor, and the whole thing mostly repeats. I'm going to play through the 2-ish times we do this for the bridge, and then we'll talk about the weird thing they do when they go into the guitar solo section. So here it is. That's the end of the section right there. So 2 things. 1, I abandoned the strumming pattern once I got to the G chord. You don't have to do this, but if you listen to the track, it matches up with what like the drums are outlining in their pattern. It's just 4 quarter notes, just 4 down strums. And then, number 2, no E major chord, kind of. It's very odd. They just chop off the last measure of this section. It doesn't sound like it at first, though, because we go into the chorus pattern underneath the guitar solo, which starts with E anyway. It's just a dropped measure, but you still go into the same chord you would have played anyway. You just kind of have to wire your brain to know that, okay, at this E chord, I'm not in the bridge anymore. It's the beginning of the chorus. So I'll take it from the G chord so you can hear what's going on. Those 4 down strums there. We go 1, 2, 3, chorus. Took me a little while to figure that out. It's definitely odd. I guess it just fit with the melody and how that flows into the guitar solo. So for the guitar solo, like I said, it's just that chorus riff. I believe 8 times total. It's not like the regular choruses where you do it 3 times and then that 4th time does the hang. Nope, they just keep repeating that initial chorus line over and over again. And then right out of the guitar solo, you're into the chorus, which is just that part all over again, and then it's normal from when he starts singing again. You're doing the 3 times, the 4th time you hit the hook, and then we do 1 quiet verse at the outro. The very last time you do it, he kind of does a little slow down retardando, and we sound like this. You just kind of give that A chord 2 strums, down, up, down. I didn't do the lift switch either because it's slow there, and that would kind of stick out because we're not trying to keep things on the grid here. We're slowing down. We're kind of in free time here. Might be 3 now that I think about it. Regardless, don't worry about the lift switch there. Just listen to the song to get the feel down. And that's that. That's the whole tune from a kind of solo acoustic or electric guitar perspective. You'll hear that it's an electric guitar throughout. I think it's Tom Morello's Strat neck pickup. That's what I'm doing here on my Silver Sky. It's a little bit harder to discern what's going on in the choruses because that's when he kicks on the overdrive. But just play along with it and you'll hear it line up with that, and especially with the drums too. You can use that as your guide right there, even though it's a little bit more chaotic than the verse. But enjoy that. Like I said, it's great for practicing your strumming. You're going to use all these strumming patterns a ton with so many other songs that you end up learning. So it's kind of an evergreen thing to learn. Enjoy.